Good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar on RFID for Asset Auditing, Myths, Truths, and What to Expect, presented by Hay Software Systems. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to our presenter, Anna Maxon. She is a certified IT asset manager and the director of product management at Hay Software. She comes to us with a lot of experience working with K-12 schools and has some very valuable and current information for us today. Let's go ahead and get started. Anna?
Thanks, Megan, and thank you all for your time today. I've been fortunate to work with K-12 school districts for 11 years with Hay Software Systems. And for 24 years, Hayes has specialized in offering consulting services and technology solutions for inventory management. We focused on the particular needs of school administrators and be able to help them effectively track operational and instructional assets. Today, we will discuss how RFID is used for asset inventory audits, the benefits you can expect from RFID, which myths about RFID you've probably heard and aren't sure which are real and which are fiction, and what's shifting the need for better, faster asset audits. RFID is used for everything from tracking pets and patients in a hospital. It may sound trite, but the applications are limited only by people's imagination. The most common applications are payment systems like your mobile speed pass and toll collection systems, for instance, access control gates, and asset tracking. We'll also see it in retail sales and product tracking. And have you ever participated in a walk or a run event? That tag on your shoe is RFID, and readers are placed throughout the course to track your time. In K-12, you may be familiar with some other uses that have received controversial feedback as well as positive success for bus route management, student attendance tracking, and even library book automation. Behind the scenes of all those different uses, radio frequency identification, we'll shorten it up to RFID. This technology uses radio waves to exchange data between a reader and an electronic tag attached to an asset, making the identification and tracking of the asset easier and more reliable. To break it down a little, the tag's antenna, shown here in blue, receives wireless RF signals, which electromagnetic energy from the RFID's reader antenna, and that sends a message requesting information from the tag, its unique identifying number. So using power from its internal battery or power harvested from the reader's electromagnetic field, the RFID tag sends a radio wave message back to the reader. The reader picks up the tag's radio waves and interprets the frequencies as unique asset numbers. The reader then passes that information wirelessly or through a docking station to the inventory system for reporting and reconciliation of exceptions in the location or status of your assets. Quite simply, RFID will eliminate the need for you to touch every asset for inventory auditing, making the process easily repeatable throughout the school year. RFID scanning is designed to be quick and efficient, allowing the user to pick up difficult-to-reach barcodes in a room in a fraction of the time it would normally take. Many school districts have tried to automate the inventory taking process with barcode decals. RFID is really the next level in automating that process you might already be doing. Two major benefits you could find with RFID are, first, line of sight. This advantage eliminates the need to position the laser of your scanner across the entire barcode on your asset, allowing RFID to be used when the RFID tag is not in direct view of the scanner or the inventory taking staff member. The second benefit is speed. RFID tags can be read at phenomenal rates. Asset inventory can be taken very quickly, as one RFID handheld can count hundreds of assets simultaneously in the same time it takes for a single barcode scan. A typical inventory cycle without RFID takes 2 to 5 days per building, or add more staff. And many districts struggle to perform one inventory audit for each building at least once a year. With the use of RFID technology, inventories can now be performed anytime, easily requiring only one employee and only a few hours of resource time. Think about performing an inventory of computing devices while the students are actively engaged with them in the classroom. Whatever the application, RFID has the potential to increase efficiency of operations, improve asset visibility and traceability, decrease reliance on manual processes, reduce operation costs, and provide useful data for business analytics. There are many, many different types of assets your district may find valuable for RFID technology to perform inventory audits. We'll discuss 4 of the most talked about types of assets, starting with those here. So we've got our hard-to-reach assets, like your access points or overhead projectors, where you may actually need a ladder to be able to get to that asset tag. Or you have to crawl on the ground underneath desks or tables in your computer lab. You also have secure assets like your servers and switches that you don't want just anybody in the same room with them because they play such an important role in your infrastructure, much less handling them to try to find an asset tag located on that device. Assets with those protective covers that you want to put on your iPads so that they stay in good condition, those can be incredibly challenging and frustrating to get on and off. And for good reason, but that asset tag is located underneath there. You've also got high-profile mobile devices that are always moving around the building, anything in a student's hands or in a mobile cart. Before we get into the myths about RFID, I thought we might cover a little more detail about a few of the critical components of RFID. And we'll start first with tags. The 2 primary types typically considered for inventory audits are passive and active. Passive tags have no power source. They draw power from the field created by the RFID reader itself and use it to power the microchip circuits to send back an identifying information to that reader. Now, your active tags have a power source, typically a battery embedded inside that tag, and they are able to broadcast their signal without a reader present. Now, oftentimes readers are installed in locations like doorways and ceilings to pick up those signals on a continuous basis. Passive RFID tags very often best meet the objectives of asset inventory audit requirements for a very reasonable cost. Passive tags don't have batteries, so they won't die out on you. So long as they aren't broken, passive tags will last for as long as the asset needs to be inventoried. The cost of an active tag can start around $15 for that label, while the passive tags will range from $1 to $5 based on the type of that tag and the quantity that you purchase. The next component, as you probably guessed, is really critical. It's that RFID reader itself. So the device sending radio frequency signals to your tags is the next thing that we'll talk about. An RFID reader is really that device that provides the connection between the tag data and your enterprise system software that needs that inventory information. The reader communicates with tags that are within its field of operation, capable of performing any number of tasks, including simple continuous inventorying and even filtering, so searching for tags that meet certain criteria. All of that's based on the software installed on the reader itself. The reader uses an attached antenna that's capable of capturing that tag information. It then passes the data over to the inventory system for processing. Just like RFID tags, there are many different types and sizes of RFID readers. While readers can be affixed in a stationary position, the best results for an inventory audit are captured using a mobile device, such as a portable handheld scanner. Some readers will communicate in real time using Wi-Fi, and others have to be synced up and downloaded and uploaded of those asset records that the reader needs. As for cost, readers will range anywhere from $500 to $5,000 based on the capabilities and sophistication of the device. The final piece of the RFID puzzle is the inventory system that interprets the asset data captured during the inventory audit. Inventory systems for RFID will range from a simple syncing utility designed to take your CSV file, maybe export it out of your fixed asset system, and upload it into your RFID reader. More robust inventory systems are able to communicate asset records in real time, so there is no risk of data loss. And they give administrators the ability to report on inventory results, reconcile discrepancies for those missing assets or those assets that were found in a different location. Inventory system pricing isn't very consistent either, but there are a few easy-to-see differences between vendors who have a history of working with K-12 schools and are focused on partnering with school districts. Typical inventory systems for the commercial market are sold on a per-user license basis, which makes it really troublesome for scaling for school district needs. Now, this is my favorite part of discussing RFID. So many different stories are out there about capabilities, and often the reality of the technology clashes with the cost. Whether it's monetary because the expense would be hard to justify, or the data accuracy creates more work in the long run. I don't want to break your heart, but RFID is not magic. Unlike physical barcode scanning an asset, RFID scan range is difficult to control. It is very possible to accidentally miss an asset with a broken tag or because its orientation isn't aligned properly for scanning. There are many factors that affect the read rate, including the distance the tag is to the reader and what substance the tag is placed on. Ultimately, RFID is not a replacement for a physical audit, but rather a supporting spot audit tool to keep inventory up to date and accurate. RFID can help identify exceptions in your inventory, narrowing down the number of assets that require you to physically verify them. Now, simple RFID systems can be implemented that don't require extensive infrastructure, like cabling, electrical power services, hardware installation, and extensive testing. Focus on a business case critical to your operational success. Then add equipment as you expand and gain experience. RFID is a proven technology that's been actively used since the 1940s, but up till now it's been too expensive and too limited to be practical for many K-12 applications. But if tags can be made cheaply enough, they can solve many of the problems associated with barcodes and can offer both direct and indirect return on investment. Understanding expectations is critical to choosing this type of technology, and often those who want to solve real-world problems with their infatuation with RFID have put the cart before the horse. Focus on the business problem first and evaluate RFID as a solution, along with process changes, existing policy, resource needs, and of course, compliance goals. I hear lots of questions about implementing RFID, and I thought you may find some value if we covered our top three. So let's start with, will I still need barcodes on my assets? The answer is yes. Barcodes on assets will still be necessary for daily tasks performed. Daily tasks like site-to-site transfers, room-to-room transfers, being able to look up an asset really quickly and see details, and of course assigning devices to students and staff. RFID is not necessarily better than barcodes, but the two are different technologies that have different applications, which sometimes overlap. The big difference between the two is barcodes are line-of-sight technology. That is, a scanner has to see the barcode to read it, which means people usually have to orient the barcode toward the scanner, get behind an item, get next to it, where radio frequency identification doesn't require line of sight. RFID tags can be read as long as they are within range of the reader. Will I have to replace my existing barcodes? There are two options that you have available to you. So you can either keep your existing labels and simply add a blank RFID label or one with the district's logo. And your other option is to have RFID tags printed with the barcode or your asset number and replace and update your inventory records with the new RFID embedded barcode number. In the end, it's critical to evaluate what the end user responsible for performing everyday tasks that involve that barcode. If assets have multiple decals and asset tag numbers, the likelihood of confusion and errors is high, and it will ultimately undermine the automation improvements you're putting in place. Moving forward with new asset purchases follows the same process options. Add an additional RFID only label, or use a combo RFID asset barcode label. And number 3, just how far from an asset can an RFID signal be read? The distance from which a tag can be read is called a read range. Now, read range depends on a number of factors, including the size of the tag and antenna and the power output of the reader. If the tags are attached to products with water or metal, the read range can be significantly less. Increasing the power output could increase the range, but most districts restrict the output of readers so that they get more accurate physical location readings. Power settings too high will identify tags outside of the room you're performing inventory for, so things outside in the hallway or even through walls. Just keep in mind that if you're going to take the time to physically verify inventory, it's often worth the little extra effort to capture an accurate room location for future reporting and analysis. With so many assets in K-12, purchasing and justifying specific instructional assets for building use, it's worth that extra bit of time to make sure that you have the opportunity to reconcile your inventory and identify any of those misplaced assets that have switched rooms or building locations. So what's shifting the need for greater asset management control? We'll start first with maximizing the existing resources the district already owns, whether they're actively used or stored away. This is where you will see direct return on investment. Minimizing the cost of replacing lost assets by increasing the transparency of asset data to any asset stakeholder really improves accountability as well. Now, you'll also have some indirect areas for ROI, which might come from the better quality of data, which assists in accurately forecasting for future purchases, being able to analyze reliable asset data. You may also be able to see reduced handling errors, improved task productivity, and faster inventory counting for automated processes. Responding to and anticipating internal, state, and federal audits with reliable asset data allows you to be less reactive and have less manual effort. Ensuring students and teachers have access to the materials they need to succeed in the classroom, which is aligned strategically to your district's mission. Empowering support staff to focus more on the customer experience is another indirect ROI opportunity. Many districts are first faced with the challenge of being able to know what assets they own, and that makes focusing an RFID implementation on inventory audits a quick and logical win. The outlook for RFID for inventory management has some really great practical applications that reduce manual work effort and improve asset record accuracy. So in the future, I think we're going to see additional inventory taking options around these 5 areas. So being able to automatically receive tag assets as they show up on your warehouse dock or school front office, being able to achieve real-time perpetual inventory, knowing what assets move or automate the checkout process, being able to receive those asset updates about statuses and maybe alerts whether an asset is moved outside of a room or acceptable building, and then using RFID to help prevent theft and unauthorized moves. Going back to the basics of creating an inventory taking plan, let's define your use of RFID, and it ultimately follows some of the same processes. First, determine whether you want to deploy RFID as a point solution to solve one problem, maybe in technology or finance, or is this really an infrastructure approach designed to solve multiple problems across the district? You also want to determine which product types you want to track. Are you going to focus on your carts, routers, switches, student devices, maintenance equipment? Consider other factors that might influence which system is most appropriate. How large is the asset? How is the asset used or stored? Is it highly mobile or is it static? And how can you deploy the system with minimal disruption to existing operational activities? Everyone already has a job. So how do you figure out how to implement a system like this? Determine if objects have specific distance requirements to be identified and tracked. Is it on a roof? Is it mounted to high ceilings? You also want to prioritize the benefits of tracking and managing the objects or groups of objects on your list. Before you jump headfirst into RFID, I've got a little guidance for you that will help you prepare. So first step is always to make sure an RFID project, you want to be able to evaluate your district's expectations against what a new RFID system can actually provide. We've talked about some of the myths and some of the expectations already. So make sure and validate those things with the rest of your team. You'll also want to understand key processes. And RFID's place within that evaluation is the most important aspect of a successful implementation. Always look at an RFID implementation as a process improvement project. In deciding whether to utilize RFID, it's vital to analyze the current and upcoming business practices carefully and determine which aspects will improve by implementing an RFID-based solution. This entails gathering information from multiple stakeholders, usually around business management, IT, maintenance personnel, and of course any end users, auditors, IT staff, and campus staff. It's also important to perform an RFID survey of a planned installation location and the actual assets that you want to be able to tag. Some preliminary tag testing should also take place during the survey. An assortment of tags should be brought along and tested using the handheld reader and get an indication of how well the tags can be read to each of those types of assets. The physical inventory layout of an area or facility should also be documented in a report to show the locations where read points will be implemented. Also, all stakeholders for planning and implementing the project will use this report moving forward. When it comes to RFID technology, hybrid often involves utilizing a mix of technologies to create your solution. Utilize print tags with barcodes and human-readable data whenever possible. Not only will the barcode and the human-readable code on your RFID tag be a backup in case the reader or RFID chip fails, but it can also be utilized in parts of the process where an RFID reader does not make sense. This might be a part of the process in which some form of human interaction will still be used, or when you may need to locate or identify a single item among many. In these situations, it may be difficult for an RFID reader to distinguish between the item you really want and the one right next to it. If you're going to use a handheld reader to read a tag just like you would a barcode, then a barcode is the better solution. Because RFID tags come in hundreds of different configurations, selecting the proper tag for the application is critical. There are simple tags that can be printed, tags that can be embedded in plastic credit card formats, various hard mount tags, and even wire wrap style tags, great for cabling. Some can be mounted on metal and perform best that way, while others will effectively be useless if mounted on metal. Tags are available for various harsh environments as well, durable in both hot and cold temperatures. Location of the tag on the tracked item is also vital. Whether it's on the server or a laptop, the orientation and position of the tag must be carefully picked and set up to be consistently read by the reader. Also, consider the placement of the tag in relation to how the item is used. If you're tagging assets or equipment, make sure that the position does not interfere with normal operations. Initially, one of the key advantages touted with RFID was the ability to store various data in the tag itself, making it available wherever the tag was. In reality, 90% or more of the applications using UHF Gen 2 tags will not require this feature. Why? because storing additional data within a tag creates some troublesome issues, not the least of which is devising a reasonable security scheme to prevent unauthorized access to that data. Most inventory applications will simply use the RFID tag as a unique license plate that can be referenced to a database. Since most system users will have access to this application to either identify or update information about the tagged items, this method provides a virtually unlimited number of data fields for information that can be stored and accessed about that tag, restricted only by your database's limitations. Limiting access to your database through normal network security features means that as long as your database is secure, someone unauthorized who reads an RFID tag is left only with a random 96-bit number instead of any useful information. Before we wrap up today, I wanted to mention that Hayes Software Systems offers a comprehensive solution to software, hardware, tags, and services to help districts take advantage of RFID technology for inventory audits, as well as traditional barcodes. The TipWeb RFID is the first RFID inventory solution specifically designed for K-12 education. School districts can take advantage of the streamlined audit process benefits of RFID while also performing the day-to-day tracking of inventory to buildings, departments, rooms, students, and staff in a single solution, TipWeb IT. We are also able to interface with your enterprise purchasing, fixed asset, HR, and student information systems to reduce duplicate data entry and provide real-time data access between these systems. That concludes my presentation today. I thank you all so much for your time today, and I hope I was able to provide some insight into RFID technology for inventory auditing. Our contact information is listed on the screen here if you'd like additional information about Hayes Software and how we could help you overcome asset challenges, as well as our website where you can perform research on your own with case studies, blog posts, and press releases.